And happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Thursday. This is the one and only HCP Roundtable. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Thursday, so that means it's the HCP Roundtable. Saludos a mis hermanos causando panic. All my homies causing panic. I'm joined by three of the best ones here tonight. We've got Ring IQ in the house. We've got my brother Joe HABEEB from Ringside Reporter, and of course, El Capitan, there can only be one quarterback. It's Mr. HCP Boxing Network himself. That's obviously D-Style Boxing. Now, look, let's get past all the pleasantries and get right into the boxing talk because, I've been going back and forth with my brother Joe all week pretty much about this Spence Ugas fight. Joe has his opinions. I have my opinions. But before we get to Joe and me, I want to start things off with none other than Ring IQ. Ring, we've got a big fight this Saturday. It's pay-per-view. I don't know what you think about that. Okay. We're closer to $100 on this pay-per-view cost than we are to $50 once you factor in taxes and everything else. But what are your thoughts on this fight? And how much you looking forward to Saturday night, Ring?
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday night because it's going to answer a lot of questions. The intrigue, the selling point, which is sad, the selling point of the fight that's making me, I am going to buy the fight. And the reason I'm going to buy the fight is because I don't know what Errol Spence we have anymore. So that's the question. If you ask me, could the Errol Spence that beat Kell Brook in 2017, could that Errol Spence beat Ugas? Yes, of course. The problem is we don't know if that's the guy we got anymore. This guy's fought once in the last 2 years. He got in that car accident. I believe that the eye injury is a residual injury from the car accident. There's a lot of things in there that if you're a gambling man, maybe you don't trust Spence with your money. You might not. That you'll root for him and you want him to win because you want him to make it to the Crawford fight. But as far as trusting him, no, I don't trust him. I don't know what the hell's going to happen, which is a big part of the reason that I'm going to see the fight because Ugas is a better fighter than advertised. He can fight you mid-range to inside and pressure you like he did Omar Figueroa, or he can box you from the outside and counter you like he did Manny Pacquiao. And depending on what he decides to do, Spence is a guy who hasn't fought in the last 12 months. Spence is a guy who hasn't knocked somebody out since 2018. Carlos Ocampo. So as far as intrigue, there's definitely intrigue, but for the wrong reasons. But there is intrigue, and I am buying the fight. I encourage all of you to buy the fight, whoever, if anybody's on the fence. Yeah, it's worth the watch, It's not the unification match that we've been waiting for 4 fucking years, but I'm going to buy it. I ain't going to front. I'm going to buy it.
Well, I think I'm going to buy it as well. I know I'm going to buy it as well. D-Style, are you buying it? And are you looking forward to Spence versus Ugas live on pay-per-view? $75 on pay-per-view, by the way.
Well, that took a moment to my computer trolls in there, but check it out. Of course, I'm looking forward to this fight. I'm looking forward to what I believe is going to be a really, really good, fundamentally sound fight for the first half. And then how the second half goes is just going to depend. Who's going to be landing the better body shots in the first half? Who's going to be landing the better counters in the first half? And is Spence going to have to kind of do what he did in the Brook fight? Start applying pressure, and then how is Ugas going to react to that? So how the second portion is a bigger question for me. But I'm actually officially pulling the trigger on this one, and I'm just going to go with Ugas, right? For many factors, and one of the main ones, and I understand this is an X factor. None of us know the real effects of the eye, right? But what we do know is that he couldn't do the fight with Manny Pacquiao because of the eye. We do know that when he flew out of the vehicle like a rag doll, okay, it was real. We know that the impact was so hard that it shattered his teeth and he needed to get them replaced. We know it fucked with his jaw, right? And look, granted, it's a miracle he's alive, much less boxing, right? But Now he's going to be in the ring with Ugas, who just came off a pretty impressive win against a southpaw. Not in his prime, but still a really good Manny Pacquiao. All right. And he could shoot that right hand down the pipe. He can loop the right hand. Right. And like I've been saying, from that southpaw position, okay, Errol Spence in that high guard, right, with a possible bad eye, how is he going to see the right hand coming, especially if Ugas loops it, okay, while Ugas is throwing it from the orthodox position? I mean, Spence is either going to have to lower the guard and leave the eye exposed, or leave the guard up and blind it, and then Ugas can also switch it. He could hook off the jab. He can jab off the hook. He could throw straight down the pipe. As far as his right hand goes. So and Ugas did a good job with his hook, by the way, against Pacquiao, which typically you're not really supposed to have success with a hook against a southpaw, but he made it happen. Okay. Ugas is, a really good fighter. He's been a dark horse in this division for a long time. In my opinion, should have a W over, Cal Brook, but they took it from him. You know what I mean? But I look at that Spence fight with I'm sorry, not Cal Brook. Sean Porter, my bad. Yeah. But I look at that Sean Porter Spence fight and I say to myself, this was before the crash. Is Spence who I thought he was? Because I picked him to destroy Porter. And he didn't do that. He had a tough fight with Porter. I picked him to destroy Danny Garcia. He clearly won, but did he destroy him? I don't think so. I'm picking Ugas to win.
To destroy Danny Garcia coming off of that injury?
I did. But what I'm saying is I have to reanalyze it, and I'm looking at this fight, and the last thing I'll say about it is I think Ugas is coming in. He's going to come in with a game plan. Ismael Salas, by the way, a big factor. I call him the architect. He comes up with great game plans. Okay, I think he had the most upsets, at least notable ones, last year than any other trainer. Right? It's easy to beat Reynoso and train Canelo or beat guys. Well, of course, Canelo's the best, right? But you train a Joe Joyce to beat a Dubois when he was the underdog. That's a little more impressive to me, right? And he did some other upsets. So I think that is a big factor to me. And I think the other thing about Ugas is that he's physically strong. Okay, he's not a hard puncher, but he's a physically strong guy. So it's not going to be easy for Spence to muscle him around, right? And it's going to be interesting to see how Spence can handle that.
Well, there you go. Look, you can't really see Joe right now because he's behind the back of Ugas, which is fitting because he's backing Ugas in this fight. Joe, why are you so bullish on Ugas this week? Well, why don't you explain that before I let everybody know why I think you're so wrong?
Well, when people look at Ugas, they see the 4 losses, but they don't really look at when he came back, in 2016 and fought exclusively as a welterweight. Because as a welterweight, much different fighter than what he was at 140, right? 3 of his losses are split decision losses, and I think he clearly beat Porter, in my opinion. I had that fight I think 8-4, 9-3-ish. Thought he clearly won that fight. Even before the car accident, right? I'm not going to count the Carlos Ocampo fight. I'm going to say the last fight I really saw Spence be that killer was Lamont Peterson. Mm-hmm. And then after that fight, it seemed like something changed. He started really becoming less of that seek and destroy guy, and he was more of an outside guy. He was a little bit less offensive minded, and I was noticing that he was throwing less power punches. He was throwing more jabs, and I hate going back to punch stats, but I did for that Danny Garcia fight, and I looked and I just saw how few power punches he threw in that Danny Garcia fight. I saw how few power punches he threw in that Mikey Garcia fight compared to what he used to do. Back in the Kell Brook days, he was landing like 34, 35 power punches, around. Now he was down to like 21. So I've seen it change even before that car accident, right? And then I hear him saying that I had one foot out the door, that I've had a problem making weight my whole career. And for the first time in my life, I've had a nutritionist, right? Then I see it, and I see the drinking. Then I see him being heavy, walking around at, 180, 190 in between fights. And I'm saying to myself, could this be a contributing factor into the different Spence that I've been seeing? Is he throwing less power punches? Is he becoming less offensive minded, or less aggressive, I should say? I don't want to say less offensive minded, but less aggressive, because of all those other contributing factors having an impact on him, right? Maybe he doesn't want to be as aggressive because maybe he doesn't think he could maintain that pace throughout the whole 12 rounds. Could be the conditioning playing a factor in that, right? Now, he's a great talented fighter. Even with that jab, he's really good at changing up the rhythm of it, the speed, changing levels, moving it around. Really good with the jab, right? But I don't think he's the quickest guy, and I don't think he ever was the quickest guy on his feet. I never thought he had quick feet, and that's why I thought he had such a problem with Sean Porter, because Sean Porter has very quick feet.
Yes,
right?
he does.
Even though Ugas doesn't move a lot, he's got quick feet too, because he does a lot of subtle movement. And Ugas is an adaptive, reactive fighter. He's really good at adapting on the turn of a dime to what his opponent does. So he's good at reading his opponent's offense. And even in that Pacquiao fight, you could see even that 42-year-old Pacquiao still has fast feet, right? But when Pacquiao would dart in, start that ambush attack, he would catch that. He would catch that right jab. And as soon as he caught that right jab, he would step in with the right hand. And then Pacquiao would try to come in on the angle. Then he would just make that subtle turn and then loop the right hand over the top and hit Pacquiao on the top of the head. Spence is a guy moves in straight lines, right? He's trying to fight in the center of the ring more than ever. He was most effective, in my opinion, when he was backing guys up against the ropes, backing them in the corner, and fighting that inside game that he used to fight. In the center of the ring, he's not as dominant. He's not as effective. He's more vulnerable to me. And like D-Style said, Ugas is really good at holding his ground in that center of the ring when people try to push him back. And he's good at stepping around you and turning you, right? And as soon as he's blocking a shot, automatically he's turning and shooting, stepping and shooting. Once again, the adaptive, reactive fighter. And another thing is, he's Cuban, and Cubans are really good at fighting southpaws, because that's what he's used to fighting. He's been used to fighting southpaws his whole career as an amateur, right? I think he'll do better against Spence, because Spence is a southpaw, and I think he'll find a home for that looping right hand. So how do I see this fight going? I really see Spence trying to fight on the center of the ring more. I see Spence trying to be the boxer here. I don't think he's going to go in for the kill. I don't think he's going to try for the knockout. I really don't. I think he's going to try and outbox Ugas, and that's going to be to his downfall, right? Because he's going to try and work that jab, right? And I just think Ugas is going to be catching it, knocking it down, popping his jab over the top of it, stepping around, looping the right hand over. Then Spence may on occasion get close, try to push Ugas back. Ugas will hold his ground, push him off, get that space, turn him. I just think that Ugas is going to continuously change the look for Spence, and it's going to force Spence to have to reset his feet. And I think it's going to be a problem for Spence, because again, I just don't think, movement is Spence's strong point. I think his strong point was pushing guys back with the hard jab, closing the distance, right, and forcing them into a corner or the ropes where they can't move, and not allowing them to escape out the sides, right? But if he's going to fight in the center of the ring, he could do that against Danny Garcia, who's a smaller mid-range guy.
Slow feet too.
Slow feet, exactly. Yeah. Mikey Garcia.
He's slow.
Whoa. Not done yet. So then when Mikey Garcia is another guy with slow feet, mid-range guy.
Yeah.
Ugas, as Ring very eloquently put, outside, mid-range, and inside, effective in all areas in the ring.
Yeah.
And he's not small. I saw him at the press conference face off with Spence, actually looked bigger than Spence.
Yeah.
Right? Built like a brick shithouse. So I think Ugas is going to put on a clinic. I think he's going to put on a clinic.
So he's going to put on a clinic. So before I get into giving my thoughts on this fight, I want to big up Slide Tendencies for the membership. Big up to Slide Tendencies. I think Slide Tendencies has moved his way up to he's on his way to a black belt status on Maestro boxing when it comes to membership. And we got Mr. D-Style Boxing himself.
He's already a ninja on Ringside Reporter. Don't worry about
he's a ninja, okay.
He's a ninja on Ringside Reporter.
So look, speaking of elite martial artists, I got to give a big up to the boy, Errol Spence Jr., okay? WBC IBF Unified Welterweight Champion of the World. B, put some respect on that name, please, okay? Because guess what? He's fighting in his hometown. He's fighting in Cowboy Stadium, Jerry's World, okay? He's fighting in Texas, which D-Style knows all too well about. And the fact is, this is a 50-50 fight. It's going to have multiple swing rounds. And you best believe that the majority of those swing rounds are going to go to the hometown fighter, Errol Spence Jr. Now, he's not going to be there to be hit the way Manny Pacquiao was, who didn't seem to be able to escape those lead right hands from Ugas or that left jab to the head and to the body. Manny showed his age in that fight. And what people are forgetting is that prior to that Manny Pacquiao fight, Errol Spence Jr., Yordenis Ugas went for a split decision against Ramos. Didn't really look that great. Didn't really look that great in that fight. Okay, he suffers from what I've coined to be Daniel Jacobs syndrome, where you do just enough in a close fight for your fans. Although Ugas, albeit doesn't really have that many fans, but his fans to be able to say that he did well and won the fight. When in reality is the B side, he probably needed to do a lot more. Now, I'm one of the people that actually does believe that he convincingly beat Sean Porter. But if you couldn't beat Sean Porter in a fight that wasn't in Sean Porter's hometown, where Sean Porter isn't nearly the star that Errol Spence Jr. is, okay, and Sean Porter isn't nearly as good of a boxer as Errol Spence Jr., you're not going to get the nod in Jerry's World. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. I don't have that amount of confidence in boxing, let alone Texas boxing, as some other people might. I don't. And people might say, "Oh, well, Maestro, you're biased because you don't like the whole fighting for freedom nonsense and the patria y vida nonsense that Ugas seems to always be wearing on his T-shirts and everywhere else." His fight has nothing to do with freedom. His fight has everything to do with the immigrant experience that all of us sons and daughters of immigrants are all too knowledgeable about, which is your parents left or your grandparents left to earn more money.
Yo, the audio go out on me or?
I think the audio went out on Maestro.
Yeah. I thought it was just me. I was looking at my. Can't hear you, Maestro. He's censored on his own show.
I want to add to what Maestro said, though. Sure. I want to add to what Joe said, which is another thing that. Look, I don't want to poo-poo all over Spence because, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about a fight, but I've never thought much of Errol Spence Jr.'s jab, and that goes all the way back to 2017. We know Errol Spence is a southpaw. Kell Brook is an orthodox fighter. If you watch that fight, Kell Brook is getting off a lot of fucking jabs on a southpaw whose jab is supposed to be coming over the top of his. So that kind of told me that, you don't have lead foot advantage if his jab is getting to you more than yours is getting to him.
Well, that's the problem, though, Ring, because again, when there's space, that's where he's most vulnerable. He didn't start having success till the gap was closed.
Exactly, and
that's the problem.
And just to expand upon the point that you made that really struck a chord with me, I don't think much of Errol Spence Jr., the boxer, because he's not that. He's an action guy.
Yeah.
Crawford's a boxer. Ugas is a boxer. Spence at his best is an action guy,
He's
a
a stalker.
volume guy,
He's a
and a
stalker.
hard puncher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a stalker.
Well, I'm back. Sorry about the audio issues a moment ago. Yeah, so look, I'm just not all in the hype. I'm not comparing growing up in Cuba where you got to go to amateur world championships multiple times and you had the opportunity to study in an elite boxing academy from an early age to a near fatal car accident, which is like how they're portraying the promotion of this fight. It's like we both came to near death experiences, and now this is our moment. Ugas escaping political repression in Cuba, and Errol Spence Jr. Being thrown from a Ferrari at high speeds and dropped on his. What are we talking about, guys? Okay. Look, Ugas, he came to here just like my family did, immigrant, got it. We get that, okay? Now he's in a fight. And he's lost multiple fights to people that are nowhere near as good as Errol Spence. And what I am going to say about this, oh, salute to you, Joe. What I'm going to say about this is this, right? All of my prediction on Errol Spence are based on the fact that I think that the commission caught an injury and that if he wasn't fully healed to fight, they wouldn't be allowing him to fight right now. So I don't think that the injury is going to be a problem because I think that they would have been looking at it extra carefully given the fact that it was discovered the last time. So obviously everything that I'm saying is out the window if Errol Spence has bad eyes or if he's still dealing with the effects of the injury he sustained. But I do think that they would have been paying extra care to making sure that that eye is okay before licensing him to fight. D-Star, you wanted to say something?
Well, for sure. But I think here's the thing. Just because something passes a physical doesn't mean it's still not lingering, right? Mm-hmm. Once a guy tears a muscle, like in the shoulder, it's more likely to be torn again in the future. Like even if he passes the physical and all that, the retina is a very sensitive. It's probably the most sensitive part of the face, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very sensitive part. Look, maybe he goes through the fight and nothing happens. Maybe something does happen and he still wins. Who knows, right? But what I will say is this, and it's just me. I cannot, like me personally, the points are valid about Texas and Texas judges, and the points are valid, right? But speaking to Joe, here on YouTube, when everybody was saying that Manny Pacquiao was going to destroy, Marquez, and in the third fight, nobody wanted to see it, and he predicted that Marquez was going to win, even though the judges didn't give it to Marquez, his prediction was correct because he called it. He said, "I think Marquez is going to win this fight," and in his heart, I'm sure he believes he got it right. So me, I'm not going to base it off of what some three old farts, okay, scoring it. One of them might be checking out the ring card girls, okay, and they shouldn't be doing that because they're old, they got high blood pressure, they probably shouldn't be doing that shit, right? One of them might be texting on their phone, the other one might be corrupt and score every round for Spence. I don't know, I can't control that. But all I could control is how I think, how I envision the fight in my head, right? And I do see a pathway for Ugas to win this fight in my head. However it happens, I don't know, because I didn't think judges were going to give Bradley a decision against Pacquiao, but they did it, right? So it's one of those things.
Does anyone here think that Ugas can knock out Errol Spence Jr.?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anyone here think that Errol Spence Jr. can knock out Ugas?
Yes.
Ring IQ shaking his head. I don't think
he could wear him down. If he could wear him down.
I just want to, because all I could tell you is what I think. This is what I think, right? I don't think Errol's a bad fighter, right? But I've never thought he was. I don't think he's a great fighter.
He's not as great as his fans make him out to be. That's for sure.
In the way that I look at greatness has a lot to do with adaptability. A fighter's ability to adapt has a lot to do with how far they can go. Like Fury, he could be a pure boxer, he could be a pressure guy. Mayweather, he started out a boxer puncher, turned into a pure boxer, completely defensively minded. Manny, became a little bit more defensively responsible after the Marquez knockout. Adaptability is a big thing that determines how far a guy can go. And Errol, at his best, he's an action guy. And even as an action guy who was in an action fight before the car accident, I saw Sean Porter stun him with a looping shot that caught him on the top of the head. I saw Sean Porter hurt him to the body in the mid rounds. And I'm like, this is all before the car accident. Sean is not known as a power guy. He often smothers his work and it takes the power off of the shot. But I saw him hurt you. So I look at Ugas, and even worse, forget Ugas, I look at fucking Salas. I'm like, bro, they're not coming in here to buy. Like, something tell me these guys might not be coming here for no motherfucking boxing match. Salas not dumb. They know they in Texas. They know you from Texas. These guys is not dumb. To D-Styles' point, Salas know how to make a plan, bro. His fighters and the plans that he make when Hector Garcia went in there and beat the fucking hair dye out of Chris Colbert, right? Salas wasn't even there, but that's one of his guys. They like that. Like, nah, I know what
he trains Kazuto Ioka, one of the best tacticians in the sport, who follows the game plan to a T. So,
and you see what he did to you see what he did to my man Kosei Tanaka. He played with my man, B.
That left hook was savage.
Can I just jump in and just address this thing with the judges and stuff, right? So, in Errol Spence's last fight with Danny Garcia, the fight was at the AT&T Stadium. But there was a Vegas judge there, a New Jersey judge there, and a North Carolina judge there. Am I going to sit here and try to defend judging in boxing? Absolutely not. But is the judging really as bad as we think it is on a consistent level? Because we see a bad fight, like judges have a bad night. We see one fight that's been scored horribly, right? It's usually one card or whatever. It happens and it gets really blown out and we talk about it for days and days and days. But out of the hundreds of boxing matches, right, that we see, how many are really, controversial scores?
I'll answer that. I mean, out of the hundreds of boxing fights that I've seen, maybe it's even more than hundreds, actually.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you that many times where I've seen a B side, right, in a close fight with swing rounds get the benefit of the doubt, especially when he's fighting in the other guy's hometown. Hometown crowds have an effect on all judges, regardless of where they're from, with the oohs and ahs and the crowds. I mean, that's literally what people that were complaining about the Catterall Taylor fight were pointing to. And again, I felt that was a close fight, a fight that could have gone either way, a fight where there were multiple swing rounds that people couldn't agree on, but where the hometown fighter with the hometown crowd behind them got the benefit of the doubt. And that's usually what happens in close fights with a hometown fighter, Ring.
Yeah, I had Jack winning by a point. Like I'm with Maestro. It's closer than people give it credit. It was closer than people want to acknowledge. It was. I had Jack winning, but by a point.
I had him winning by a point too.
And I could be fucking wrong. So if I'm fucking wrong, Josh gets it. But this is what I'll say. Bad scoring does happen more often than people acknowledge, because I picked Sebastian Fundora to knock out Erickson Lubin. That was my prediction. And I predicted he's going to be down on the cards, though. He's going to be down on I know they want to give it to Lubin. I know the promotion is behind Lubin. And if I know that preemptively and then it actually plays out, that's a testament to how bad it is. Because let's be honest, I'm not fucking clairvoyant. Well, I am, but I'm not. I'm not fucking clairvoyant. And I knew, they want to give it to Lubin. They're going to look for rounds to give to Lubin. If you watch that fight, bro, I think I had Lubin winning, 2 rounds the most? The rest of the time, he's getting pushed around.
I had it closer, but
I had it pretty close. I have to be honest.
Look, when I saw, it reminded me of Figueroa and Fulton. You got a really tall guy for the weight. He's going to lean on you. He's going to press you. He's going to push you around. Except I don't trust Lubin's punch resistance. And for me, I don't think I could give Lubin more than 2 rounds. I'm like, bro, the rest of the time, he's just pushing you around. He's just pushing you around. I would say 1 in 5 cards are controversial. 1 in 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are fair points, and it's not just an issue with boxing. I think it's fair to say that in most sports, if you're playing the Lakers in LA, that LeBron doesn't get called for fouls as much as other guys, and football, well, whatever the case is, right? Like the hometown team, etc., home field advantage, and it shouldn't be that way, right? And in boxing, we have judges in there for a certain reason. But what I'm saying is that a consensus of people thought Manny Pacquiao beat Bradley, and Bradley won. You know what I mean? Well, what I'm saying is that sometimes, especially like I've noticed that when you put the spotlight on the judges enough, they're human. Yeah. They know people are saying, "Oh, they're going to give it to Spence." Or you know what? They're going to give the fight to Spence, and sometimes it has an opposite effect.
De La Hoya Trinidad, De La Hoya Mosley. I mean, he was the A side in those fights. He didn't get the decision.
But I just want to add this because this is a great topic. It
doesn't always happen.
Being honest with you, look, devoid of a car accident, devoid of an eye injury, devoid of a year layoff, Ugas was always going to be a hard fight. Porter was a fucking hard fight for this guy. Porter. So why wouldn't, just devoid of the intangibles that we're all stuck on, I don't think this was ever going to be an easy fight for Errol.
That's what I'm saying, Ring. On paper, this is a stylistic tough fight.
Yes, like you got a guy that if you want to bang in the booth, he could do that. But if he want to sit outside, just mid-range to outside and pot shot you and counter you whenever you want to come in, he could do that shit too, and he's long enough to get away with it.
He is, but he can also get a split decision victory over an Abel Ramos. So I mean, sometimes he doesn't do enough to convincingly get the W. And
I'm not disagreeing with you, Maestro. I'm just saying that this is a big stage. You got a lady with a fat fucking ass and some big old thighs watching you fight. It's a lot of money in this motherfucker, and it's 3 alphabet titles on the line. If you was ever gonna show up, it's on that night. And you got my man with the platform shoes in the corner, Ismael Salas, who we all know, bro. When in Texas, we cannot play around. We got to take this guy out. And I'm almost thinking that, you know what? Look, if I know this, they know this. This man ain't fought in 12 months, over 12 months. We need to get on him to where he don't get in a rhythm in round 3 and 4. We all over him.
There you go. We've got a guest joining us at the top of the hour, and I'm going to ask him about the fight so we can return to it, Joe. So just hold your thought on that on Spence Ugas. We will return to that in hour number 2. I do want to go to some big news, but 2 things first. First, I got to give a big up to Nando for the super chat. Thank you so much. He says making predictions leads to narrative bias. By the way, I'm a heavy believer in that. In fact, when people tell me they predicted a fight and then they give me their scorecard after the fight, I roll my eyes and question it half the time when I hear it afterwards. So so some big news dropped in the sport of boxing. But before I do that, Ring, you spoke about alphabet titles. So this is just for my own personal entertainment. It wasn't on the list of topics. I asked Kenny his thoughts on these titles. I want to ask you guys to quickly rank these titles. These 3 titles are held by, pretty mainstream guys in the sport. The Reggie belt is held by the likes of Tank Davis. The IBO title is held by the likes of Usyk and Golovkin, right? And then we've got the franchise title, which, as we know, is held by guys like Gambosis and Juan Estrada. So before we get to the next topic, Ring, I'm going to go to you first. You're a fighter. Rank those 3 titles: WBA Reggie belt, IBO, and WBC franchise. Which of those 3 would you find the most coveted?
I would say, I fucking hate all that shit, but I'm a utilitarian kind of person. So I would say the franchise because it's the most useful. That title will allow me, if I want, to move through the weights as a mandatory challenger for any WBC champion at a weight of my choosing. So if I had to choose out of all of those, I would choose that one, not because it's prestigious, but because it's useful.
There you go, Joe HABEEB. IBO, I mean, it's held by Usyk and Golovkin. Come on now. You don't want that IBO belt, Joe?
I like the NWO title belt with the spray paint on it, if you want me to be honest. I got to tell you the truth. That's the belt I always wanted. If I had that belt, I'd be wearing that to work. I'd be wearing that to work. I'll be walking in my boss's office. I'll be playing it like a guitar and shit, man. That's the belt I want.
Fair enough. So, D-Sal, you.
Is the Mayan belt in there? I thought the Mayan belt looked pretty good. You know, it had like a nice look. You
I
know,
should have
like,
said
like
the Bridgerweight
you know,
title.
or the Universal. You know, the WWE Universal title. You know what I mean? Like I want that one.
There
No,
you
but also out of those three, the franchise belt because it is the most prestigious belt of the WBC. It is an elevate. It's an elevation, but it does not require. If Haney does not want the belt, it is okay. So there you go.
Well, there you go. I was half expecting somebody to say the WBA regular title because some people that have held that title have claimed that that's like the original WBA title, not the super title. But I digress. Look, there's some big news.
That's like calling the NFC Championship the regular, like the original NFL Championship. Like we know it's not.
Good point. Good point. So some big news dropped, and this news wasn't only appearing on channels like Ring IQ, no disrespect, Ring IQ, but it was also covered by CNN, okay, by major news outlets out there, the major lamestream media, as I call it. All right, CNN, Sky News, other outlets. The U.S. is offering a $5 million reward, okay, for the arrest of Daniel Kinahan.
Yeah, I got to get myself to Ireland ASAP. Get my $5 million.
Yeah, I mean, who many of us know was behind the establishment of MTK, which was formed under the name of Mac the Knife, the former boxer, but was controlled principally, allegedly, by Daniel Kinahan, who's accused by the U.S. government of being, you know, one of the heads of a major Irish crime syndicate. But he's heavy in boxing. He's linked to multiple major fighters, including those under the banner of MTK, which include, obviously, the WBC lineal heavyweight champion Tyson Fury and many, many, many others, okay, including a lot of U.S. fighters now who are signed to MTK Global. I'm going to go to you first on this, Joe, because you're the one who actually brought this to my attention. As you know, I came off of a vacation. I was out of the news for a little bit. All right, but you brought this to my attention. Your thoughts on this news, okay? Boxing isn't, you know, a sport that's known for being clean necessarily and has had a long historical tie to organized crime. But your thoughts on this, and then your thoughts on kind of the repercussions of this as we look at all of the fighters signed to MTK Global. And allegedly, Probellum is also associated with MTK as well.
Well, everyone's going to just distance themselves from Kinahan, and they're just going to say, you know, we haven't really affiliated with him, you know, for years or whatever, and they're going to be fine. I think MTK Global is going to be fine. I don't think anything's going to happen to them. The crazy thing is this information's been floating around for a couple of years now, and why all of a sudden was it, you know, brought to light now? That's the question I have. And I don't know. It seems like someone may have given him up in the industry or something. I don't know. Someone must have spoken up somewhere for this news to be put to the forefront, you know. But I guess the reason why they gave him up possibly is because they felt like it was going to come back to bite them. I'm suspecting someone, and you know, someone blew the whistle on him, possibly from MTK Global, and you know, they just wanted to get it out of the open, and then they just wanted to distance themselves from him, and just kind of be proactive that, you know, just to make sure this didn't come back to bite them in the butt later. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's kind of weird how the whole thing played out, because like I said, I've been hearing about this stuff for like the last at least 3 years, right? And everyone's been talking about it. A lot of people have been talking about it, especially people from the UK and people who hate Tyson Fury. They always were bringing this up. Yeah, he's doing business with an Irish mob boss, whatever.
Aren't we all?
But if I have to be honest, I don't know too much about, like, I know he's been involved in you know, weapons trafficking, drug trafficking. He's been accused of being linked to murders too.
Allegedly.
That's what I said. He's been accused. So I wasn't saying that he did it. But yeah, so I don't know too much about it. But again, there's this nothing nice has been said about this guy. No one's really come to defend him.
Well,
no one's saying, "Oh, this stuff is false."
Bob Arum did last time the accusations were being hurled around, and now Bob Arum decided to distance himself from him.
Yeah, but Arum at that time was denying the, you know, all of the information, I guess, that was being put out there because no one confirmed it. But once the information was confirmed, then Arum distanced himself. So maybe Arum didn't believe any of the information that was coming out, or maybe he did, and he was just pretending he didn't. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I think MTK is going to be fine, Probellum is going to be fine, and everyone's going to distance themselves. And even if people, MTK can't operate in the United States, that doesn't matter. They're going to still be able to do what they do over in Europe. So I think it's going to be business as usual, in my opinion.
There you go. Ring IQ, you reported on this news. Share your thoughts on it and kind of what the ramifications might be for boxing.
Well, the ramifications for boxing are as such. First, they have to connect Kinahan to MTK, which outside of widespread speculation, there is no connection. When you look at the report, MTK has not been sanctioned by the U.S. government. Probellum has not been sanctioned by the U.S. government. And on paper, like, you know, it's like there's so many people that are stupid, they're not listening to what I'm saying, that they are not sanctioned by the U.S. government. I'm not telling you to believe that they're clean. I'm telling you they're not sanctioned by the U.S. government. They can do business in America. So can Probellum, because on paper, they have not connected Kinahan to them. They've had two CEOs in the last 4 years. One was Sarah Vaughn, and the next is a guy, Bob Yolum or something, right?
Is it Bob Yalen? Is it Yalen?
Bob Yalen. The both of them have said we have nothing to do with Daniel Kinahan. Am I telling you to believe them? No, I'm just telling you that on paper, the powers that be have not made the connection yet. So as far as this pertains to boxing, unless the U.S. government decides to randomly pick out fighters and squeeze them for intel, nothing is going to happen. The sanctions themselves create a more awkward situation than a critical one. It's awkward because you can't do business with him publicly. But I said this on my own channel. Most people that do business with Daniel, they don't do business with him publicly. They go to Dubai. They go to see him in Dubai. So the way it looks, to me, and a lot of people aren't going to like this because they think I'm sympathizing when I'm just giving you my thoughts. They look desperate for intel. If you could have stuck this guy to the wall, you would have stuck him to the wall in Ireland. You accused him of everything you can accuse a man of in Ireland, but you never convicted him. If you had at least one conviction, you would have stopped him from going to Dubai, but you couldn't because you could never pin the rap on the guy. So you're telling me now that he's in Dubai, you're going to pin the rap on him now? The rap for what? The rap of what? You haven't even been able to serve this guy. You had to get a U.S. Marine just to fucking serve this guy for a civil suit last year. What I see that has my attention is a lot of people didn't notice how fast Probellum grew. They didn't notice. They're jumping into bed with Canada. They're jumping into bed with Costa Rica. They're in Russia. They're in Germany. They're with Wasserman. They're in New Zealand.
Too. Yeah, everywhere.
They're everywhere. Nobody noticed it. Like, yo, how the fuck is this possible, right? You got this entire stable of fighters all around the world. You got friends everywhere. And I think that the mounting pressure we're seeing might have something to do with him potentially going straight. If you can make this all work, you can justify the money easily. Like, bro, I'm a promoter in fucking anywhere from Namibia to Canada to Germany I got friends all over the place. You want to know my revenue stream? I'm a fucking global promoter. And what I think all of this really has to do is the reason they're trying to jump on him and apply pressure is because he's very close to achieving whatever the end game of that is. I don't know what the end game is because to me, and I don't even feel comfortable saying this, to me, it's all a money laundering operation, okay? We make buckets and buckets and buckets of fucking cash. But right now, they don't have the rights to read our books. So we can fudge the numbers as much as we like. Like, yeah, I sold one ticket worth $28 million. $28 million. I could put whatever I want to put in the books. This is
because it's not a publicly traded company to explain what you're saying a little bit further. Yes, it's
a
private company.
So you have the perfect operation to get away with what you do in front of everyone. And you've gotten it to the point to where it's global, perhaps more global than MTK Global was. Like, this has far exceeded my expectations, because when I saw Richard Schaefer, I'm like, the fuck is he up to? He ain't up to no good. And then I see, okay, you're in bed with Lou, you're in bed with Yvonne Michelle, you're in bed with Waserman, you're in bed with the guys down in New Zealand and Australia, you're in bed with fucking Lithuania, you're in bed with, I'm like, bro.
He's in bed with every second and third tier promoter in the world to create arguably what's going to be the biggest promotional company in the world.
And what better way to launder massive amounts of money than a global promotional outfit that works? You can't, in other words, I know you understand this, Maestro. You know, we can't get all these governments that he work with to cooperate with us. Not all of them. We're having a hard enough time just getting the UAE to play ball. They haven't extradited him. And I'm waiting for an actual precedence for, because alleged is not for you to enough. It's not enough for you to extradite him. You're not proving that he committed a crime. So we're just supposed to scoop him up based on some accusations. If you could have got him, you would have fucking got him in Ireland. Now the U.S. sanctioned him, which I think, okay, that's interesting, because the U.S. doesn't just sanction people. You have to have something. There's some fucking reason you sanction this guy.
Usually the reason is we don't like you, so we're going to sanction you. I mean, ask Russians, Cubans, Venezuelans, Syrians, and Iranians. I mean, that's why the U.S. sanctioned. What I am going to say about what you said, Ring, and Joe, I'm going to go to you in a second, is that I agree with pretty much everything you said. The sensationalization is in the title of the news reports. And once you read what's underneath that top layer, what you quickly see is that they're paying for evidence. So like, yo, if you have anything on this dude, we'll buy it from you.
Thank you.
As opposed to, this is the case that we got on this guy, and this is why we want an immediate extradition, and we're going to put him on trial. Joe, go for it.
I mean, the word sanction, I mean, all that means is he can't do business here. That's all that means. I mean, it doesn't mean that he's going to be convicted, or he's going to be, anything's going to be done to him.
Let me vent. Can I vent to you guys? I said this on Twitter. I said this, that sanctions are not proof of foul play. And so many fucking people got upset. And I'm trying to help you under a sanction.
That's the truth.
It's not a slam. They don't got him by the balls because they sanctioned him. And the other thing is, oh, well, he can't do business in the United States. Well, guess fucking what? Most of his operation isn't in the United States. It's in fucking Europe.
The word sanction sounds so powerful, but it's one of the most useless things that fucking.
They got so fucking mad at me, Joe, because I said
it's
bringing Joe. You're right. And the other thing that's oftentimes misunderstood about sanction is the U.S. government, despite the fact that oftentimes it presents itself as the world government, ain't the world government. Like, if the United States puts a sanction on Iran, that's the United States putting a sanction on Iran. That's not the world putting a sanction on Iran or on Syria or Venezuela or anything else. But look, on the one hand, I mean, the guy's almost being accused of being a kind of a criminal mastermind. But then on the other hand, clearly they'd be smart enough to separate this dude from MTK. And if you go back again, underneath the top layer of the article, which was, of course, essentially sensationalized title, what you see is a quote from Sandra Vaughan from back in 2020 that says, Kinahan hasn't got anything to do with MTK Global. Yep. She wouldn't have said that if there was a paper trail in 2020 that linked him to it. Now, D-Style, I see you there patient. Why don't you chime in on this?
Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know the ins and outs of this whole situation. What I am going to touch on, however, is this. So apparently this dude's a big deal, and apparently I'm supposed to give a fuck, right? Somehow, some way. First of all, look, no offense to Matthew Macklin. Of course, he needed some help to bring up upstart his promotional company. I'm just saying, I'm not shocked that some, mob or whatever drug dealer helped him out with some cash to move that shit. Because Matthew Macklin isn't exactly like that dude like that. But I just want to put that out there. But shout out to Matthew Macklin. He was fun to watch. So shout out to him. But with that said, here's what I'll say. We got Kevin Ioli. We got all these dudes out here outraged, angry at the media. Oh my God, this was a disgrace. This is why boxing's in the fucking dumpster. Because they didn't ask Tyson Fury about this dude. Why did they ask him? They asked Tyson Fury about how are you going to work with Sugar Hill? You know, against a different type of fighter than Wilder. Well, that sounds like a fucking boxing question, you fucking genius. Okay? It's a virtual call about the fucking fight. And like Dylan Whyte shows up, and y'all want to make Kinahan, whatever the fuck his name is, the star of the show? No, he ain't the star of the show. What are we doing? Who gives a fuck? As a boxing fan, I don't give a shit about a dude in Ireland selling drugs. Okay? I just don't give a shit. Okay, I live in El Paso. I don't give a shit about the dudes in Juarez selling drugs. I ain't gonna give a fuck about a dude in Ireland. All right? So like, I don't give a shit. Like, oh, didn't ask him. This is the darkest day in the history of boxing journalism. Didn't ask him. Didn't ask him. I'll kill you. Why did you ask him? Like, shut up. Okay, just shut the fuck up. That's all I gotta say.
I want to let me because it's the virtue signaling that gets me.
Yeah.
If you're so against sketchy characters in the sport of boxing, why don't you go write an article about Jay Prince right now? Just because you care so fucking much, right? You want to clean up the sport. Go write an article about him. He's been standing there right in front of you the whole time. Oh, you don't care until it's trendy to care. And that speaks to a bigger issue, I think, that affects the American populace a lot in this generation, that everybody's trying to champion a fucking cause all of a sudden. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah,
you don't care about that shit. If you cared about fucking crime, bro, you'd have had a stack of articles about a lot of motherfuckers in the sport of boxing. Like Sean Gibbons. He's a sketchy motherfucker. I know a lot about him. I know a lot about a lot of motherfuckers, basically. And I'm like, how could none of this bother you all this time? But this bothers you. This fucking guy's all the way halfway around the world.
Selective outrage.
Selective outrage.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. I mean, there's so many things that are problematic on the sport on a legal level, like putting in an Olympic medalist in with a guy that's got like a 1-8 record to get knocked out in the first round. I mean, I could think of a million things off the top of my head.
Worried about so many Americans are worried about crime, but they want to defund the police.
This is like gun control laws and shit almost. You know, blue states have the most gun crime and coincidentally have the most gun laws.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quantitative reality that people that the college educated liberal coastal elite don't really want to address.
Because they have no life experience. What they have is literature that they read on Google. They have no life experience. Like, I'm like, look, this is
or that they earned in a $45,000 or $50,000 liberal arts college somewhere in the middle of fucking nowhere.
All I know is that Killian's he's singing karaoke right now, like I'm wanted. Dead or alive.
Let me just say that look, it does tenuously pertain to the sport of boxing. It does and it doesn't, because if you have common sense, then you know that it does. You know it does in a way, yeah, if certain things come out. The thing is, if you read the story, and this is the problem, most people don't read the story, they read the headline. They don't read the story. They are literally asking people, can you help us get this guy? Because we don't have enough to have him.
They're literally asking for evidence. But look, let's just break it down to the bare bones of this. Would this issue prevent any boxer from signing with MTK?
No.
Will this issue prevent MTK fighters from being on television or getting dates?
No.
So then, as D-Style said, it's all to do about nothing. I think that's what D-Style said.
Well, all I know is that MTK just reminds me of Mortal Kombat. That's all I know. Like, I just think it's like the Mortal Kombat song in my head, you know? So I guess it's fatality because like all I know is this, okay? Hey, Kevin Ioli, like you're supposedly a journalist. So why don't you reach out to people, interview them, and put some articles out? You need to ask Tyson Fury. Well, what do you think Tyson Fury's going to do? Let's just say Fury knows everything, right? Well, you think he's going to drop everything right there? Like, oh, yeah, I know where he's at, and I know what he did, and he did
I mean,
this
the
and he
fighter
did
that
that.
gave the most quotes about Kinahan and about how much of a great guy he was actually Billy Joe Saunders. You know, and Billy Joe Saunders was saying that, look, he hasn't been convicted of anything, so I don't really know. Until that happens, like, I don't really have anything to say about anything. He's been good to me. Joe, go for it.
One last point. You know how you know Kevin Ioli's full of shit? Because if this was such a big deal, what do all boxing journalists do? They want to be first, and they want to be the guy that put it out there. So if this was such a big deal, he wouldn't want anyone to report about it because he would want to be the first and the only guy to put it out there, and then he would want everyone to follow him. So apparently this isn't such a big deal, right?
You know what is a big deal? A sport that he covers, the UFC, which pays its guys 18% of profit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go work on that one. So look, today was the press conference between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. It was done remotely, just like we are. In fact, a lot of the people who are asking questions looked like they were on their sofas, funny enough. I don't know if you saw it, Ring, but it's like,
no, I watched it. I watched it.
It's like I don't know. I mean, there's like being on your sofa, and then there's like looking like you just finished eating potato chips, and like, oh, it's my turn. Okay, yeah, here we go.
Like Dan Raphael, bro. The camera was right here to Dan. Like he turned it was like right on his. I'm like, yo, this is wild.
They didn't have webcams. They were clearly using their laptop cameras.
Any Jeffrey Toobin? Any Jeffrey Toobin incidents?
No Jeffrey Toobin. Thank God.
Just brought him to the Roundtable. Would have been a better experience.
They should have brought him. We should have brought him to the Roundtable. And then the other thing was literally 10, 12, 15, 20 motherfuckers in a row asked Dillian Whyte, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? He just said the last 15 times that he's okay, that he's doing well. Get to the question, okay? When I'm watching the press conference, I don't need to hear 15 guys ask a fighter, hey, how's it going? Hey, how are you? Hey, how's training camp?
You got 30 minutes with him. Don't waste 10 of those minutes asking him if he's all right.
Seriously, he already answered that like 15 times. But anyways, the point
How you doing? Like, what was it? That dude from Friends?
Yeah.
How you doing, Dillian? How you doing, buddy?
So, but to my question for the panel on this, and D, I'm going to start with you, okay? It's been weeks now where, you know, it's like an old episode of America's Most Wanted where when I was a kid. Like, what's going on with
Carmen Sandiego? Yeah.
Where is he? Or Carmen Sandiego is another one. I always wanted to get on that game show when I was a kid because I swore I would have won one of those trips. My geography skills have always been on point. Anyways, Dillian Whyte decided that he would participate. It was a Zoom call. He actually seemed to be pretty positive about the whole thing. Looked like he was in a good mood. Was very nice to all of the interviewers, right? Smiling, answering all of the questions, essentially saying that he just wanted to be treated professionally and like an equal in this big fight. Any changes of thoughts now that Dillian Whyte has decided to participate in the promotion? Or should people be reading into this at all in terms of his chances in this fight, in terms of, this fight taking place? I think it's going to take place for sure, but people were saying for a minute that they didn't think it would even happen. D-Style.
So first, I just want to know, is he okay? Is he all right?
He looked okay. I mean, 15 guys asked him in a row how he was. I just want to make sure that he was okay. So
I'm really hard-hitting investigative journalism there, guys. But here's what I'll say, though, okay? All I know is this. I'm glad he did because he had to do something. Like, he couldn't, go the whole promotion not doing it. I mean, I seen it in WWE where a guy's gonna face a secret opponent, but we know who you are though, so you can't really sell it as a secret opponent, you know. So I'm glad he showed up. I'm glad he showed his face. I swear to God, I saw him. I was going through my Twitter feed. I'm like, man, oh shit, Bigfoot, he's real. You know, I saw him on the screen. I'm glad he did it. It's not gonna he's gonna get his ass fucking kicked. It hasn't changed my mind about the fight. You know what I mean? But one thing I did notice is that he does have, at least on the surface, appears cool, calm, collective, and that's what you want to be as a fighter. You want to be cool, you want to be calm, you want to be usually when guys are doing the whole roo rah rah thing, when they're doing all that, usually to me that's all cap. You know what I mean? So it looks like he's focused. It looks like he's had time to just focus on. I would think anyway, just focus on the training. and for the fight. So I mean, that's as much as I got, as far as thoughts about that.
There you go. We're going to introduce a new guest in a moment, but before we do that, I got to get to the super chats. I did miss them. Drew, thank you so much. This was about the Kinahan segment that we did. He says, like I told Jules on his live, the 5 million bounty is for intel. They are hoping someone in middle management who has access to Kinahan is disgruntled and feels underappreciated to flip. Yeah, that's a possible scenario there. And he had another one where he said, nothing to see, fake outrage, journalists capitalized who are writing articles like they will win a Pulitzer, business as usual. I agree with that. Fake news, or not fake news, but sensationalized news, clickbait news. We are joined by Mr. Mike Montero on boxing. He's got a great show on Mondays on his channel. If I did have a car, I don't. I live in New York City. It would be my afternoon drive listening every Monday after work. But I take the subway, so I got to catch it on demand. Michael, good to see you, my man. I know you're training for a fight, so congrats to you for that.
Thank you.
Did you have any opportunity today to check out the Dillian Whyte press conference with Fury? And if not, I'll let you know right now that he did turn up. He looks happy. I was talking to Joe earlier today about how excited I am to see this fight. How are you feeling about Whyte versus Fury just over a week out?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, man. Well, first of all, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me back on. It's good to see all you guys. I'm looking forward to it because, look, it's Tyson Fury against the top 10, maybe top 5 heavyweight. We haven't seen that too much. So, and there's kind of been two different worlds in the heavyweight division. There's been Wilder and all the guys he fought, including Fury, and then this other world over in the UK. So seeing these two guys fight, I'm looking forward to it. I actually think it's going to be a good heavyweight scrap. But no, I didn't see the press conference. That's good that he finally showed up because I know he wasn't at anything before, right? And there was a lot of people upset. I think he was just trying to play some mind games, whatever. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that one.
There you go. Julius, I went to you already. Did I believe I did.
Not about this one.
Go for it. Go for it.
I'm not surprised he turned up because they said he'd have to do one. They let us know that the fight week press conference, they said he would do that one. So I was more or less expecting him to do at least one the week of the fight. Not much we can derive from it. Just a lot of guys asking a lot of, hey, Dillian, how you doing? Like nothing major. I don't expect to learn anything from the press conference. I've made up my mind that at minimum, it's a great fight. I've always wanted to see Dillian fight Tyson Fury, and we're finally getting it. It looks like there won't be any issues. We're basically a little over a week out from the fight. I'm excited because I didn't think it would happen, but that it's happening. I'm happy. I'm excited. I just want to see a fight. Just want to see somebody get knocked out. That's all.
Well, there you go. I've been watching this show with my wife on Showtime called Super Pumped about like the growth of Uber, and very interesting show. People should check it out. I'm super pumped about this fight. Joe, are you super pumped about this fight?
Oh yeah, I love Tyson Fury fights. I think this is going to be a fun event. I knew Dillian Whyte was going to eventually show up. I think the first press conference, him not being there, was kind of like a publicity stunt, and I think it actually helped the event more so than hurt it. And I think from here on out, he'll do what needs to be done. And I just think this fight's going to be a huge fight. I think it's going to be bigger than what people think it's going to be. I think it's going to do a lot of pay-per-view buys. Obviously, it's sold out. I have a feeling that people in the United States will buy this fight. I think they'll get some interest in it as the fight nears, and I think they'll do a good job fight week, probably pumping it up a little bit. And it's gonna be fun to watch a heavyweight title fight like at 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. That'll be a first. That'll be back to the.
Let me ask you about that.
That'll be back to the ABC and the CBS days. Back
the
ABCs were free though.
That was terrestrial.
But keep the time. The timing is.
So you got those on the rabbit ears. Now here's my question. My question is, we got an afternoon fight in the U.S. We've got a primetime fight in the UK. they're getting a heavy discount for the primetime fight out there in the UK. They're paying like $30 out there in the UK. They released the price here in the United States of America, USA, baby. We're paying like $70.
No, it's at $60.
It's actually 65. So I just rounded.
Great, that's a great deal, brother. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
you're both wrong. You met in the middle.
You rounded
Look
down.
at the undercard.
65,
It's
man.
stacked.
The fact is, we're paying over twice the amount that they're paying in the UK. What are
You
your
can
thoughts
afford
on
it.
Joe?
You can afford it.
Well, that's beyond the question. But the question is,
Nice tax write-off.
why do we have to pay more to subsidize this UK fight? Why can't we get to pay $25?
Because you live in America, sir. That's the you choose to live here. That's your fault.
So in other words, they get NHS single payer healthcare and the $25 fight.
But ask them how much they pay for their Sky subscription every month.
And their taxes.
I might have
And gasoline.
I live in New York City, guys. I mean, I'm paying city, state, and federal up the ass over here. Trust me, tax day's tomorrow. I've been doing my taxes. Anyways, moving on. D-Sal, I got to you, right? I believe I did.
These pay-per-view people complaining about prices.
I don't know. Well, look, I'm complaining because I'm paying, bro.
We've been doing it for years. This is what we do.
Yeah,
This is what we do.
Look,
You know what's going on?
I'm the guy that
I'm
was
just telling you.
Bitcoin Power and Latin Fury cards. So you're speaking to the choir, dog. Like it is what it
bought
is.
Jones versus Bobby Gunn. I'm not going to complain about anything.
Oh man!
Wow.
Okay. So I bought. I think you did too, Joe. Luis Ortiz against Charles Martin earlier.
Yeah,
this
I
year.
bought Hopkins Jones too.
That was
Y'all better than me. I couldn't.
I didn't only buy it. I recorded it.
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you guys, and I'm going to go to you for this first, Joe. Big John Fury wasn't too happy about some of the words of arguably the third best cruiserweight, in my eyes anyways, of all time, Mr. David Haye, who has yet again predicted that Tyson Fury is going to lose a fight. John Fury was so outraged by David Haye's latest prognostication, I'm looking for the appropriate term here, that he has said that he wants BT Sport to ban David Haye from this fight. Joe, what are your thoughts on this? I know you don't always agree with David Haye's predictions, but is this some kind of a censorship, and are you okay with it?
What he did say was he doesn't want him to be part of the commentary team for the fight. He can go to the fight, and to be perfectly honest with you, he probably wouldn't be part of the commentary team because he usually works for Sky anyways. So he'll probably be in the crowd.
He's a freelancer. He's done BT as well.
Has he done BT?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
I apologize. I've never seen him do BT.
Including the in-studio stuff. He
okay.
with John Fury before.
I did see him. I did see him do the in-studio show once, but I didn't think he did actual commentary.
Yeah, he picked against Tyson Fury to Big John's face. It was very
I remember that. But does he actually do fights for BT too?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I apologize. I didn't know
he
that.
was there live in Vegas actually for the Wild.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't think he should be part of this fight because he's already shown a bias against Tyson Fury, and I don't think his commentary will be that substantive. So to be perfectly honest with you, if I am BT, I wouldn't want him part of this fight because it's quite obvious that he doesn't like Tyson Fury. And if he was to fight Carrot Top, he would still pick Carrot Top to beat Tyson Fury. So it doesn't really matter. So at this point, it's kind of laughable that like every single time Tyson Fury fights, you're going to pick against him. I mean, there's definitely agenda there. I don't take him serious. And to John Fury's point, obviously he doesn't have the right to tell BT what to do. And if BT decided they wanted to hire David Haye, obviously they could hire him. But he basically is voicing his opinion. He feels as though BT should not let him commentate on this fight, and I absolutely agree with him. You know, now am I going to protest if he does? Am I going to complain? No, but if I'm being objective here, I don't want to see someone commentate on a fight that who I think is not going to be objective and who's not going to give me substantive commentary. So I agree with John.
Well, there you go. Mike, I've been accused of being biased. I've spent enough times in your chats and seen your lives to know that people have accused you of being biased. Do you have an issue with someone who's been accused of being biased, from being kept off of a major telecast, especially a former world champion like David Haye?
I don't think David Haye is that great at commentary. I think there's a dozen or so fighters out there who do a better job. So, look, it's one thing if the network doesn't want to bring him on, but for John Fury to talk, who gives a shit what John Fury thinks? I don't really care. He's a charlatan. So is his son. So I don't really care what either of them says.
Whoa!
Hey, I'm just telling it like it is. And I like Tyson Fury, the fighter, but they say some crazy shit.
The funniest thing about the segments of the press conference I saw today were actually statements made by Tyson Fury. I wish I had them queued up, but essentially he was saying that it's crazy that guys act out of order at these press conferences. It's like getting out of line. He's seeing people jump out from their tables and like run after people, and these overseas boards of control need to get a handle on it.
It's just funny to hear him talk about shit. This is the same dude dressed up like Batman.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, come on.
You're the guy that dressed up like Batman before the Klitschko fight and like
runs around.
Klitschko?
Yeah, that was Klitschko.
With your shirt off and everything else.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man, yeah. Look, Tyson Fury. He's a character, and I get what he's doing, and his father's a character, and the whole family. But for me, with these press conferences, generally speaking, I'm not that interested in most of them. It's the same old shit over and over and over.
Hey Mike, how are you doing? Hey Mike, how are you doing? Hey Mike, how are you doing? Like the first
how's camp?
How's camp? It was literally what they were asking.
What am I supposed to say? Yeah.
How's your diet?
My back hurts. My arches and my feet hurt. Shit. I mean, so I'm just not that interested. And there was a time where like media guys like me, we used to go because we could get video, we could get interviews. Now they stream all this shit. So what's the point of media even going? And all the media does go now, they just ask softball questions, I'm looking forward to the fight. I really am. I don't give a shit about nothing else.
I mean, I did want to go to the Tank Davis Rolly press conference, but I couldn't. I wasn't in the country at the time because I wanted to. I'll just say I would have confronted Ellerby with like a whole lot of good questions that I would have put on my channel. I would have been like very.
When you would have got blacklisted,
you never would have been ever again, buddy.
Yeah, well, just like Ring Magazine.
Before I get to you, real quick here, the Slide Tendencies. He's not just a sub. He's not just a donator, but he's also a member. He says David Haye blows. She couldn't pick a winner if his life depended on it. He hates he called him out for getting out of their fight. Interesting. Any issues, D-Style, with David Haye as a commentator, and should biased professional or former pro fighters be booted from telecasts?
Well, here's the thing though, like they're fighters. Like I get that he's retired, but like it's whatever to me. I just find it funny that John Fury is that triggered over it. Like who gives a fuck? Like if he picked against his son, or if he did, at the end, it's not going to affect the outcome of the fight, right?
Do you believe John Fury really gives a shit, or is he playing?
I don't know, because
I don't think he gives a fuck.
I mean, Frampton would stood in front of him, and he was there because Frampton said Jake Paul could beat Tommy Fury.
I actually think that
YouTuber. Oh, it's my turn. Thank you, sir. All right. So Tommy Fury was he's like, Tommy Fury cannot beat my son. Are you crazy? He's not gonna lose to a YouTuber. No, it's whatever, right? But all I know is this: whether Tommy Fury's whether he's trolling, whether he's telling the truth, I don't know, because I can't read the Furies. You know what I mean? Like there's something weird about them. I can't read them, right? I've just learned to just take their words for face value, right? So if he's saying that he wants this dude banned or removed from the telecast, then I got to take his word for it, right? I just think it's funny. I just think it's stupid. And who gives a fuck what the daddy of like a fighter says? You know what I mean? Like everybody's caring about what Bill Haney says, what Teofimo Sr. said, and what Garcia's dad said, or Angel said. Like I don't give a shit what Angel said. Like Angel ain't in the ring. I don't give a shit. Or Teofimo said that his son won 11 rounds to 2. Well, maybe he should learn to count. Like, you know, before I give a fuck about his opinion. I don't care. Or well, Bill Haney said this on some show. I don't give a shit. And I'm the same with John Fury, okay? John Fury apparently is supposedly a bare knuckle champ. I don't know, man. I didn't know what he was. I don't care. But what I do know is that it's hilarious. And by the way, I think like this gimmick, which I think it is, that the Haye has going right now, where he picks against Fury in every fight. I think it's hilarious, you know, and I think he's gonna keep it. He's gonna keep doing it until he gets it right, and then he's gonna turn around and tell people, "I told you he was gonna lose." He's gonna pick against. This was like 0-10 calling Fury fights. Okay, so I have to believe he's doing it on purpose. I think he's the one trolling. It's my opinion.
Yeah. I actually find it very entertaining, to be honest with you, D-Style. I think the most entertaining thing about Danny Garcia's career, other than the knockouts that he had against Khan, was his father. And I'm saying that as somebody who watches press conferences and listens to his interviews. But Ring IQ, David Haye is a commentator. He's not that great at picking Fury fights, but any issues with him as a commentator?
Well, I mean, just from a realistic standpoint, right? If I'm John Fury, I don't want David Haye calling the fight because he may misrepresent the action. That's the only valid claim I could see in John Fury not wanting him to call the fight, because he may misrepresent it to the people watching the telecast. However, John Fury is one of these dads in boxing that he wants it to be about him. And you can see that, you know, every other day he's blowing a gasket. The other day he was blowing a gasket because there was no VADA testing for the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight that never happened. And it's gotten to a point where like every other day you're throwing your toys out of the pram, you're hooping and hollering, you're mad at Carl Frampton, and you're making an, you know, when he came at Frampton, that's when I really felt like he was making an ass out of himself, because show that man respect. That man is a former world champion, a 2-division champion. And you're talking to him like he's Joe Blow. And I know why you're doing it. You're doing it for attention. You want the attention. You feed off the attention. The same way Lopez Sr. was feeding off the attention of Teofimo, he's feeding off the attention he gets for his son, Tyson Fury. And it was funny at first, you know, like but it wore off. The novelty has worn off. And now it's just annoying. And now it's just like, okay, bro, like just go chill somewhere. But I will say there is some legitimacy to not wanting a guy you feel has a bias against your son. There's some legitimacy to that I wouldn't want him calling the telecast for my son. He may misrepresent the action. So as far as that, I get it, but I'm tired of seeing John and hearing about John. It's like, come on, bro. Like, the fight ain't about you. You know, unless you want a card, pipe down.
Yeah, I agree with that last take a lot, Ring. There's very few things more frustrating to me than watching a card. I'm thinking back to the most recent Consecal fight. I mean, I'm seeing one thing on my screen, and the guys commentating are telling me that I'm seeing a total other thing, and it's unfortunate. But moving on, I wanted to get into this IBF decision because Triller's back in the news this week as it relates to boxing. The first thing involving Triller, is that their appeal to the IBF was denied. Essentially, they had put down a deposit to gain the rights to the Kambosos Teofimo Lopez fight, which went to purse bid, obviously. They put up the biggest bag for it. They outbid Matchroom. They outbid everybody else, ESPN, Top Rank. And then they proceeded to cancel the fight. I lost count. I think it was like 4 times, multiple times in New York City alone, multiple times at the Garden alone. And then expected to get their money back. Well, the IBF gave them a big FU and told them no, like that was a non-refundable deposit and we're keeping that. Apparently that news wasn't enough to dissuade Andy Ruiz from deciding to move his services over to wherever the hell Triller's based and take on Spang on Triller in his next fight. I'm going to introduce our newest guest, Base the Kid, and then I'm going to go right back to you, Mike, and then to Base to talk about the Triller deal. I did a video where I said RIP Triller as it relates to boxing, but apparently they're back. Mike, what are your thoughts on Triller? And what are your thoughts on Andy Ruiz deciding to go to Triller when apparently he had offers on the table from Eddie Hearn and others for big fights?
Yeah, I think Triller is learning the hard way. This business is different than any other business. I mean, boxing is just a different animal. And the IBF, you know, they've had legal issues in the past. They got their ducks in a row with this shit now. They're not fucking around. So you put down that deposit, as you said, it's not refundable. So the Triller, I think it was 1.2 million out of like 6 million. It's something, I can't remember the exact numbers. And then I think 70% ends up going to Tio and maybe 30 to Cambosos. Either way, that money is gone. But they still have a lot of money and they're willing to spend it. So they're going to keep spending it. And I think Andy just went to the lowest risk, highest reward bidder. That was Triller in this case. I'm really not interested in anything Andy's doing unless he's in there against the top 10 heavyweight. He kind of freaked out when he got that money. Tattooed his ass. I don't know what the hell's going on. That shit was crazy. We all saw the video. I had to share that on my Instagram. But I don't know. I just look, Andy's always been who he is, and people don't change overnight. So when he beat Joshua, I really think he kind of hit the lottery, and that was his moment, and that's it. I would love to be proven wrong, because if we have another serious player in the heavyweight division, then that's great for boxing, especially because he's American, right? So that would be awesome. But I just don't buy it. I've talked to 3 or 4 different trainers that have worked with Andy over the years. This is going back over a decade. They all say the same thing about him, the same damn thing. So I just can't take the guy seriously.
Well, there you go. I want everyone to make sure that they check out my homie, Base the Kid, the hardcore casual. He's definitely not a casual, very knowledgeable about the game, including the women's game. Him along with Ring IQ, those are the 2 guys I check out the most for finding out about the women's game. But Base, I was hoping to see Derek Chisora against Andy Ruiz, probably at the O2 on the Zone. Apparently that was offered. That's what Eddie Hearn said. And Andy Ruiz decided to go with Spang on Triller. What are your thoughts on the fact that we're not getting to see that Chisora fight and that Spang is who's up next?
Well, I would have loved to see the Chisora fight, quite frankly, but I mean, who doesn't like seeing Nesta Gibbs get beat up? So, you know.
Oh, swirling. That's a good.
Oh, y'all cat's not right, man. All right.
I'm joking. I like Nesta.
Yeah,
no, you know what? In terms
That's
of
just cool, man.
It's weird. Like look, Triller to me is, it's a freak show, and I actually don't mind the freak show. So look, the Forrest and Hunter fight was entertaining. The Pulev like Frank Mir thing.
That was a good knockout. It was a good knockout.
Very good knockout. You know, they do entertaining things. So if the PBC guys need to get some money and ain't got no dates on their side of the street or whatever, Triller's not a bad way to go. If they put it on before versus or something, yeah, I'm all for it.
There you go. I still don't know anybody that has the Triller app on their smartphone. Hands up if you have the Triller app on your smartphone.
I did have it on there, but it doesn't
past tense.
No, I think I've still got it, but I don't switch on.
So that's 1 out of 6. I don't know what Triller is. I don't know
And
how
he
to
thinks he has it.
I don't know how to watch fights on
And we're
Triller.
degenerates. So if it's only 1 out of 6 degenerates, that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, seriously. Joe HABEEB, Andy Ruiz to Triller. They default. Triller didn't get their money back. I just don't see them as a serious outfit. How did you even think that you were going to get your money back after multiple cancellations of a fight? But I'm leading the witness right now. Joe, go for it. What are your thoughts?
I stopped taking Triller serious when De La Hoya was like smoking weed with Al Bernstein, and he was calling. He was
I
calling.
was there for that, dude.
You there?
I was sitting right above them, and I'm watching. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm watching Al Bernstein get fucking high.
Yeah.
And Oscar was drunk as fuck. We could hear him up in press row. You want to talk about a fucking circus?
USSR Cunningham.
yeah, dude. We heard him from down by the. We heard him all the way up where we were.
And that's
He's
the
crazy.
fifth worst thing called him.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll shut up.
But I can't take them serious. I'm surprised Andy Ruiz is going over there. Is it a one and done, or is he going to be there? Does he have any? Is it a long term thing, or is it a couple? It's a one and done. So I don't know. I have much to say about it.
Well, there you go. I'll go straight to Julius. Ring IQ Triller. They back in the game.
Well, what's interesting is Andy's last fight was a Fox pay-per-view. What this communicates to me is that perhaps Fox is not down to pay these guys what they want to pay them anymore, or maybe they don't have any fight dates or anything like that for these guys, so he had to venture outward. Could be a one-and-done situation to where, yeah, you're there now, but at the same time, most of us don't anticipate that Fox is going to continue doing business with the PBC. You know, it looks like this could be the last year. So then the question becomes, can Showtime house all of these guys? Can Showtime give all of these guys dates? Because this tells me that, okay, Andy, they either don't have anything for you or they don't want to pay you and Luis what it takes to get the both of you in the ring, because we all thought it was going to be Luis Ortiz. We all thought that. And it looked like, well, yeah, it's a negotiable situation. They're both in-house. They'll do it as a pay-per-view, the same as Charles Martin versus Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola. It's not like Fox is spending inordinate amounts of money on their boxing this year. So you thought, yeah, it'll happen. And boom, out of nowhere. Triller's got money to blow. You know, maybe their boxing is shitty, but they've got Nigel Lithgow. The only reason I know this man's name is because of my wife. She used to watch So You Think You Can Dance. This is one of the hosts on a major show, right? So they got money to blow. They got money to play. And I'm actually not against the Spong fight like many other people, because I like Michael. I don't think that Andy is dedicated. This could be a banana skin. I've seen kickboxers that transitioned into boxing be a handful before. We saw that in Nikkei Holskin versus Callum Smith. We saw that in Cedric Paynoud versus Conor Benn. We saw that in Emma Gungara versus Estelle Mosley. These kickboxers, they seem to transition all right. Tyrone Spong is training out of Mundo in Florida, right? He's training out of Mundo. Uses a lot of pads. I like that.
Troy Dorsey.
I was gonna say the Klitschko brothers were kickboxers, as was Dillian Whyte.
Exactly. And Jarrell Miller, you know, he kicked some people too. You know, he kicked some stuff, used some pads. It's awesome. And you got a guy in Andy who I think we all agree does not appear to be the most dedicated, disciplined boxer. And then you have a 36-year-old Tyrone Spong, professional record of 14 wins, no losses, 13 knockouts. Do I think this guy hits harder than Chris Arreola at this point in the juncture? Yes. Did I see Chris Arreola knock down Andy Ruiz last year? Yes. So I see a fight between two guys, 6'2", 74-inch wingspan between them. That means they're going to be close to each other when they're fighting. They're going to be able to touch each other with their power shots. I like the fight. I think I like it better than the Ortiz fight. Ortiz is 40. Ortiz is really 50-something years old. I can read the lines on his forehead. You're fucking 50, bro. You're running around telling you're getting these fades, these high top fades. You're trying to fool everybody.
New Jersey fades. You got the New Jersey fades.
You got the Jersey Shore fade. Like, bro, you're fucking 50, bro. All right? I saw what you went through to put away Charles Martin. It's like, bro, like, no, I like the Spong fight. I like the Spong fight. I don't think it's a bad fight, but I also don't think it should be a pay-per-view. Depending on what else appears on the card, I might actually buy it, because to me, it looks like a genuine banana skin. This guy is still around, you know, Spong. He's 36, not 46. He still has an unbeaten record. He's still a serviceable fighter. I like the fight.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he's fought his last two fights in Mexico, in two places that I'm familiar with. Sorry, in the last fight he was in Mexico. He's fought twice in Merida. This is probably going to take place in the bull ring, largest bull ring in the world, actually, the Plaza de Toros in Mexico City.
By the way, Andy's not 6'2".
No, Andy's not 6'2". Does he come in under 250 for this fight, D-Style? And what are your thoughts on Andy going over to Triller?
It's the over-under this fight.
The over-under is the over-under is 250 and a half.
Oh man,
253.
Yeah, look, I don't know much about this guy, to be honest with you, but I mean, right, he was making it sound it's gonna be like the next Troy Dorsey versus Jorge Paez, and if it is, I'm down. You know what I mean? Like, if it's that, I'm up for it. You know, but
I just
like all I know is this: why is that he going to Triller? Like, what's going on over here? Like, I thought everything's all sunshine and rainbows over there. I thought PBC's got shit going. And what's going on? You know, like what's they're canceling the little talk shows. The budgets are going down. They're forcing pay-per-views. I'm just saying. And by the way, that's not me gloating or happy about it. That's not good at all. Like networks giving up on boxing is not a good thing for boxing. Mm-hmm. All right. Like I get no satisfaction off of saying that, but what's going on, like the fact that Triller present now, granted, a lot of it is risk versus reward. I get that, but you know, if apparently PBC couldn't offer him something better, you know, and I think that kind of sucks, to be honest with you. This is a former heavyweight champion of the world, and he's going to be fighting on Triller. Okay, I mean, I don't know what else to say, and Triller, it's got a bad like reputation. Triller does. Okay, Triller has a bad reputation. It's not doing very well for it just doesn't. And I'll end it with this: Andy escrow. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a bad.
Put that money in escrow, or I don't fight.
I mean, that's what Gambosis did, and I was telling Joe this earlier today over the phone. I agreed with Gambosis. You know, when he did that, I mean, you cancel a fight 3-4 times. It's like, bitch, put that shit in escrow as far as I'm concerned if I'm supposed to fight. Let me give a big shout out to Drew. Drew's not buying that Andy Ruiz is 6'2". He's not buying it. I don't think a lot of people are buying it.
One more thing really quick.
He ain't 6'2".
I'm looking at BoxRec. Where's the L for Ruiz? Like to Eddie Hearn when he took that tray of tacos to his hotel room. Like I don't see the L right there. Where's the L at? He took a big L right there.
He did. Honestly, there was gamesmanship that no world-class athlete should have succumbed to or succumbed to. Drew, again, big up to you. You got PBC, Slander, and Montero on the panel. They finna say this channel is racist. Look, I don't get a lot of love from people that generally like one promoter or another in general. There's one phenomenon in boxing that I don't understand. Look, call me old school. I'm an 80s baby. Okay. I'm an 82er, which means I turned 40 this year. Right. And I grew up in a time when people liked fighters. I didn't grow up in a time when people were fans of Cedric Kushner or Don King or
Murad Muhammad.
Or cared about some dude
that like these dudes. Like we were fans of fighters. Like now, you know, people are fans of like a fucking corporation that sells boxing tickets. Like
it's weird, man.
It's something
I cared about goldenpalace.com because it was in the back of fighters. That's all I cared about. I was curious about that, but that's about it.
Now, speaking of boxing promoters that sell tickets, maybe they don't sell that many tickets, but people are definitely in love with this person. I'm talking about Mr. TBE himself. Okay. I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather Jr. You got people that can't get out of their own way. Okay. This is a guy who can't get out of promoting himself shamelessly while he's supposed to be promoting his own fighter. I kid you not, literally the day of Tank Davis's press conference here in New York City, literally at the time of that press conference, he wasn't in Brooklyn. he was in Miami promoting an exhibition fight that's where is it taking place? In the helipad in the Middle East. So apparently Anderson Silva is gonna be fighting, and Floyd is gonna be fighting his sparring partner of many years.
A helipad's a hell of a pad, though.
I mean, look, I don't know why it took so long for Tank Davis finally to stand up. Unfortunately, he deleted a lot of the stuff that he said, but you know, for years watching Tank Davis essentially be controlled like somebody under Stockholm syndrome has been quite interesting / sad / I don't understand what the hell's going on. Before a fight, Floyd is in the flashiest suits possible, the most amount of drip ever worn. Any photo that he's in, he's clearly trying to take the attention away from Tank. Video, same thing. Press conference, same thing. Before the fight, he's giving him fatherly advice in front of the camera, obviously, about tactics and training, as if Calvin Ford ain't his trainer. Then between rounds, he's interrupting Calvin Ford to provide his advice in terms of how the fight is going. And now, again, he's, announcing fights when his own fighter has I won't even call it a big fight, but a fight, an important fight, considered the last fight on his contract. Long overdue, the Tank free agency D style, and where should Tank go from here? I mean, I'm not saying he won't re-sign with TBE. I think it would be dumb if he does. Right. But where do you think he goes?
Man, I don't know where he's gonna go, but I'll tell you what I would prefer. Tank Davis needs to leave Mayweather promotion. He needs to leave. Okay. If he does or he doesn't, it's whatever. But Floyd Mayweather is a guy that literally believes he was always a superstar. Okay, and he feels like Arum held him back. Okay, and he's delusional to believe. Like, he believes he was always supposed to be this Money Mayweather. Like, that's what he beliees, right? Without acknowledging what got him there, the foundation that got him there, the resume, the Hall of Fame career that was put together through the Top Rank promotion, okay? Being a 4-division champion under Top Rank, okay? Being the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet under Top Rank, having a Hall of Fame resume under Top Rank, okay? And that getting him the De La Hoya fight, which then catapulted him into stardom, right? That's what got him that. Well, Tank doesn't have an Oscar De La Hoya he could fight to catapult him into stardom, okay? So, like, Floyd just thinks, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do this. Well, what goes around comes around, and usually when it comes around a lot fucking harder, okay? Now he's in the Arum position, and then his fighter's talking shit about him, okay? So what goes around comes around. Like, I'm not saying Arum's a perfect promoter. I'm not saying that at all, okay? But what I'm saying is that this is the guy that thinks he knows what he's doing, and his confirmation bias is a success he had after the De La Hoya fight, okay? That's all. Like, that's what Allerby uses. That's what a lot of these guys use. You always hear, we know what we're doing. We're the ones with the records. We're the ones with this and that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they keep saying, but they keep ignoring the fact of what got Floyd to that point to begin with. Tank has not had, for the Pretty Boy Floyd thing is that's the story of Floyd Mayweather's career. Okay. What Tank needs is a legitimate career, like fighting top tier guys. That's really all. That's not a Pretty Boy Floyd thing. That's a boxing thing. Okay. Yes. That's boxing lore shit. That's what all the greats did. Fighting the best in the division and beating the best in the division is not something Floyd invented. It's not a blueprint. That's just the shit you do to prove that you're real, that you're the truth. Not that we think you're the truth. Not that my eye test tells me you're the truth, that you've proven it. Like, done in the ring and you've proven it. And Tank has not proven that. Now, we could say all day, that's Floyd's fault. That's not his fault. Poor Tank. He wants to fight the best. But Floyd stops him. He doesn't let him. Okay, whatever, bro. Like at this point, last fight with Mayweather Promotions, it's time to make some moves and time to start fighting these top dogs. Is what he needs to start doing. Mayweather has gone out of his way to brag about what he's done for Tank, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he came out and said, I'm the one that he didn't make weight, and I helped, get that, squared away and all this other dumb shit, all right? Let me tell you something, man. Floyd's only going to be loyal to you for as long as he feels you benefit him, all right? Like the fact that Floyd Mayweather told him, no, you cannot wear those gloves that you're wearing, those Canelo gloves. Okay, Boxing No Live, you can't wear those because I don't like Canelo. Okay, because Canelo said, hey Cruz, dale. He was just telling Isaac Cruz, go out there and try your best for Mexico. That's all he fucking said. Well, you can't support him because this and that. Hey, Tank, Canelo's no good for you, you know? Like what the fuck is that? I never heard Don King, Bob Arum tell any fighter you can't wear those gloves. You can't talk about this fighter. You can't hang around with this dude. He's micromanaging Tank to a ridiculous degree. It's getting ridiculous, okay? And I'm tired of Floyd, and I just want to add this just really quick. Just real quick, okay? You can't say, okay, sometimes they go, who says a champion when they don't know, and I beat more champions than I beat in 100 and some fights. Then they talk about Ray Robinson. Okay, and I beat more champions than Robinson beat in his illustrious career. I know the obvious, right? There wasn't many divisions, many champions. But then turn around and say this crap. If you look nowadays in the top 10, everybody's got a belt now. I never wanted an interim belt. There's too many belts in the sport of boxing. So boxing is really watered down. Everyone is a champion. Okay, well, first of all, last I checked, okay, just really quick, just to fact check you a little bit, since the people that interview you, like Fight Hype, don't fact check you, okay? Last I checked, Baltimore beat. Oh, all right, he beat Zab Judah. All right? And you fought Zab after that for the IBF belt.
On pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view. Okay, so don't tell me you never want a vacant belt, motherfucker. Like, stop lying. All right? And I know that it's watered down. That's why you shouldn't be comparing your accolades, your made-up record, like I beat more world champions than everybody, okay, to the legends, because it's stupid. Muhammad Ali, in order to break that stupid record, would have to lose 25 times and regain the belt. Okay, that's the stupidest record I ever heard of. I just wanted to throw it out there, and I'm done.
I just can't. Please, I'm so glad somebody said it, and it wasn't me. But I'm like, bro, the only reason you beat more champions than them is because you're from a more watered down era of boxing.
4 belts. Come on,
that's why you
double the amount of divisions.
That's why you beat more champions than them, because there were more champions to beat back then. You had to go through the fucking gauntlet, and even going through
more title holders, not champions. There's a big difference between a title holder and a champion.
You know, I try to, I'm in the middle with the thing because I try to give them the respect. I know they work hard, and I know what it means for them professionally to procure their first title. So I sympathize and I understand. But when I hear Floyd say that, it bakes my fucking news. I'm like, bro, of course you beat more champions than them. Wasn't that many fucking belts back then for them to be doing that. But I'm gonna tell you what. Sugar Ray Robinson's legacy, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, but he's remembered as the father of the pound-for-pound list, bro. You don't have that legacy. And I'm not a Mayweather hater. I'm a Mayweather fan. I bought all his fights. I'm still a fan of his boxing. But reality, you don't have the legacy there. And that's just the truth. You do not have the legacy of Ray Robinson. No, the fuck you don't. You don't have the legacy of Ray Leonard. No, you wildin', bro. You wildin'. Yours is not there.
Muhammad Ali, seriously? The guy's like comparing his struggles out of the ring to Muhammad Ali refusing to fight in an illegal war overseas. I mean,
these styles touched on a lot of points that strike a chord with a lot of things that I've been trying to communicate about, Floyd, that you think you're a businessman. No, you're not. That's why you're fighting on a helipad against a sparring partner at age 46, because you're not a businessman. Your fighter is leaving you, and he's the only fighter in your stable that people know. You want to know why that is? You're not a businessman. You're not a promoter. You and Leonard struck gold with what you did. You cannot duplicate that success. Why? You're not a businessman. But when I look at Bob, Bob's got 10 Lomachenkos. Bob's got 10 Lomachenkos. You crazy? Eddie could find another Conor Benn. I like Conor Benn, by the way. But Eddie can find another Conor Benn. See, these are promoters. They know what they're doing. When those kids were coming out of the Olympics, they didn't go to you. Well, you're not a promoter. You're not. They know that.
These kids, by the way, being the likes of Shakur Stevenson, who refused to sign with Floyd.
Keyshawn Davis and his brother, the tall
every Olympian, every American Olympian.
I mean, who exactly is signed the Mayweather promotions? I mean, their biggest fighter, arguably ever, has been Badu Jack. I think Badu Jack left.
The second in command behind Gervonta Davis is Rolly Romero.
Yep.
Let that sink in.
Wow.
The second most known guy under the Mayweather Promotions banner is Rolly motherfucking Romero, bro. If that don't say it all, I don't know what will.
Let me get to these super chats, and I'm going to go to Mike and then Base. First super chat again. Drew, you're killing it. Thank you so much. Every time Floyd speaks, you see he's not too bright, and he knows it. I think we all remember the 50-cent challenge to read a nursery rhyme book on a radio show. He reminds us about his money and faculties to mask his insecurities, but it projects them. The more he talks, the more you see it. Back up to here with Drew again. Floyd talks so much, he did not realize he admitted that Al owes him for PPV fights from 5 to 6 years ago, but he's a businessman. Yeah, I mean, the insecurity is like, why do you need to wear 4 chains that each cost like $1 million? Why do you need to buy a $20 million watch? Why do you need to put all this stuff on every time you're standing beside Tank Davis or at his fights? Having said all of that, Mike, Floyd is a promoter. Is he like Michael Jordan being an executive in the NBA? I mean, Jordan's track record in Charlotte ain't that great. And Tank Davis, what should he do next after this fight?
So he's worse than Jordan. I mean, Jordan's actually sold some tickets here and there. Tank has sold tickets, but first of all, Floyd is horribly insecure. Mike Tyson said it best. He's an insecure little man, right? He is. Daddy didn't hug him enough growing up. He's just a textbook case psychologically, and he's always needed to get some professional help. He just hasn't done it. He's surrounded by yes men, and anybody who says this stuff gets called biased or racist or whatever, but it's the reality of the situation. And everything that Floyd does promotionally now, same thing with Ellerby, it's a cap. It's a fucking cap. Their entire promotion of Tank is, we vouch for this guy. He's our new guy. So check him out. They have promoted Tank to a very small niche group of fans that are almost bought in because they're Floyd fans. They're the ones that post the meme saying he's beat more champions than anybody else. They don't fucking know boxing history. That's who watches Tank fight. So when you hear that Tank is this superstar, that's cap. That's bullshit. It is a small insular group of people that watch Tank. Tank can walk down. I live in Atlanta now. Okay. Tank has fought here. He can walk down the motherfucking street at Lenox Mall and people won't recognize him. If he has his entourage with him to say, oh, who is that tiny little dude? Who is that? That must be somebody. Because he's a short little guy, right? The mainstream doesn't know who this guy is. And I'm not saying this to hate. I'm saying it because he has so much potential. He could be a star. D-Style, you were saying that Tank doesn't have an Oscar De La Hoya to fight. Listen, man, if they built up a fight between Tank and Ryan Garcia, Kambosos, Lomachenko, there's plenty of guys for him to fight. Devin Haney, okay? But if you look at everybody from 130 to 140, it ain't in the PBC universe. It's pretty much Grandpa Bob, that devil that's representing all those fighters. So at some point, you're going to have to do business with him or DeBella or some of these other guys to get, or Golden Boy, to get Tank over the hump and make him a mainstream star. So I don't know where he goes. I think he's going to stay with Floyd because he's fighting journeyman right now and getting 7 figures.
Yeah, man.
Ronald Romero, no disrespect, but he is a journeyman level fighter. He's not a B level guy. He's just not. I'm not saying that to be a dick. It's the truth. You guys can all see what
Mike, I got a question for you. Wait, can I ask?
Yeah,
I want to ask Mike a question. What's the more competitive matchup in your mind's eye, Mike? Ruiz versus Spong or Tank versus Romero? Be honest.
Shit. Oh yeah, dog. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Spong stands like bro. Romero is Franken beans, bro.
And look. If that's the way that if that's the way you want to market your fighter and everything, cool. Get your money. But right now they are running a scam. I'm sorry. But you know what? Suckers are born every minute. Jake Paul's fighting, and they're basically doing what Jake Paul's doing. They're just doing a smaller version of it to less people.
That's a great point.
They're doing the same thing.
Let me go.
Let me just say this. I'm sorry. Let me just add this in there.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me in my publication when we don't rate Tank Davis pound for pound, Don't call us biased and fucking racist when we've got fighters from every walk of life on our pound for pound list, every continent. Just because we don't rate Tank Davis, he don't rate pound for pound. Look at his resume. It has nothing to do with him being associated with Floyd or anything else. That's the part that pisses me off. Do your thing and make your money. Don't complain when you don't win Fighter of the Year, pound for pound, this and that. That's all I'm saying.
Can I just say one thing? Let me just add to Michael's point. Floyd's whole thing right now and Tank's whole thing right now is not how many belts I got. It's not even who I fought. It's I sell tickets. So if your whole thing is I sell tickets and I get money, don't fucking worry about pound for pound, bro. Don't worry why they don't fucking rate you.
That's it.
You get money.
Well, what did LRB tweet? You saw LRB's tweets a couple weeks ago. We're held to a different standard. Shut the fuck up. No, you're not. If you were held to a different standard, then you'd be getting called out by more people in the American media. But they're afraid to approach you because you're going to use those bully tactics to go after them. So if anything, you're treated to a lower standard.
That's why I wanted to go to the press conference. I mean, Leonard LB ain't bullying me away from asking
6'4", 235 pounds.
That would be your last
no one's fucking with that. No one's fucking with that.
All right, let's go to base. I know Floyd's got the rep out there in the UK, you know, having been out there for long stretches. Floyd actually is quite popular in the UK. I don't know how popular Tank is over there, base, but you know, after this Rolly fight, what do you think is next for Tank Davis?
I actually think he's gonna. I think he will resign because remember we had the same thing. What was it about 4 years ago where Tank was saying the same thing? You see all the tweets and like your free Tank and all that kind of stuff. It was all over the over social media, and then lo and behold, everything was fine like the next day. I mean, look, yeah, we all know that Floyd is a terrible promoter, but he's a very shameless self-promoter, and I guess to him, the biggest compliment he can give Tank is the fact that I have to promote my event when his one's on, because then at least that will drive attention to me. You know, when my fighter is fighting, then if the eyes are on him, I'm with him by association. So my promotion will then get a bit more traction. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, it's a bad look, really. I mean, like I said, we all know that he's not a great in terms of promoting other people. As Jules said, quite rightly, look, if he sells tickets and that's what your thing is, then make it be about that. But you can't complain, Tank's not on no pound for pound list when you look at the quality of opponents he's faced. I mean, he fought Gamboa on one leg and took him 12 rounds. That's not pound for pound. Mario Barrios does not get you on the pound for pound list, regardless of whether you moved up to fight him or not. You know, so Leo Santa Cruz, who you dragged up from 126 to fight at 130, doesn't get you on the pound for pound list.
Yuri against Gamboa. I mean, you're absolutely right. And one thing I appreciate about Devin Haney, to be honest, is that he's doing the total opposite. And I just saw Sly Tendencies make this point in the chat. He's doing the total opposite of Tank Davis. I mean, regardless of what you think about whether or not that's a valid title that he's holding, he took on Linares, he took on Jojo Diaz, right? And now he's taking the best available guys that are there that don't have fights. And now he's going to Australia for potentially 2 fights, should he win the first one, to take on George Gamboa.
He made concessions to make the fight. He made concessions.
Concessions for the fight, exactly. So, look, it is what it is, guys. Floyd, I remember the Source Awards, Suge's accusations against P. Diddy, or back then it was Puff Daddy. You know, if you don't want somebody who's all up in the video, you know, dancing.
all up in the videos. I do want to say one more thing, though. I mean, leave it to Floyd in the same press conference, okay? Say that Canelo was in his prime when he fought him. Canelo was 23, right? But at the same time, he said, oh, Tank is young. He's still learning. The dude's 28 years old.
Bruh.
But how's 28 young and learning, and 23 is totally in your absolute prime?
I mean, he's a 28-year-old.
Ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg.
Hey, Maestro, sorry, can I just respond to that comment about Eddie Hearn not promoting Boo Boo Andrade well?
Yeah, go
I
for it.
mean, I don't think you can't. They're not the same. Like, obviously, he's saying it as comparable to Floyd and Tank, but they're not the same situation. I mean, in almost every interview, Eddie Hearn was beating the drum, championing like Boo Boo, trying to get him fights, trying to call out everyone except Golovkin for not fighting him, right? Because obviously Golovkin had the little vested interest, so you don't really mention him along with everyone else.
Once he did last year, he said, and it looked like there was a little bit of a rift between Eddie and Triple G, because he said something along those lines like, "Yo, what are you doing, bro? Like, Triple G needs to fight Andre." So
Well,
he did.
Yeah, you're right. No, but that's when they was doing the readjustment of the contract. I remember.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what I mean in general, like he's always talked about Andre as being like a great. He never makes Andre's thing about him. He's just like, look, this guy, no one wants to fight this guy. We're making offers. We're doing everything we can. We just can't get him a good fight. And then when he gives him an opponent, he makes it as best as he can, to sell and hype up that fight. And to be honest, he does a fairly good job. So no one can complain about the job he done, except for not being able to get the good fights. Unfortunately, it's just a case that no one wanted to take it for whatever reason. So I wanted to just address that comment.
Let me just say this: the only guys that criticize Eddie for not being able to get Andre the big fights are the same guys that make excuses for the guys that don't fight Andre. Eddie offered Jermall Charlo $7 million to do the fight, didn't he? So why don't you criticize Charlo instead of criticizing Eddie? It doesn't make sense. The only guys that criticize Eddie for not being able to get Andre fights are the same guys who make excuses for people not to fight Andre. Right? If nothing else, he should have fucking fought Charlo. Charlo should have fought him.
I should have fought 2 or 3 times already.
At a minimum, he should have fought Charlo. So look,
what do you want Eddie Hearn to do, by the way? Like show up like Bane and the Dark Knight Rises and capture these dudes and put them in the airplane and then drop them in the ring?
Drag them, throwing that over them and drag them.
You will fight Andre.
I got to go to Joe on this before we switch it up on the last one. Tank Davis may leave the astute businessman, the business mind. I've never understood why he's never been on Shark Tank as a guest host, to be honest. Okay, Floyd Mayweather,
you see.
They call it Dragon's Den in the UK. They call it Dragon's Den in the UK. Like, I mean, come on. Like, he's got so much cash.
Well, why does Floyd look like he's stirring a pot when he talks to it? You see. The thing is, go ahead.
But there we go, Joe. So yeah, Tank Davis. Is he discovered that the Wizard of Oz is just that, or behind the smoke and mirrors, they ain't really that much there, or do you think that he is going to return to Floyd and keep going?
I do think he is frustrated with the fights that he's getting. I think he's seeing the division pass him by. He's seeing like Kambosos versus Haye. He's seeing how Teofimo fought Lomachenko, and he's seen how Lomachenko's still in the mix, and he's going to fight probably the winner of Haye Kambosos at some point, right? And I think he's getting frustrated because you heard him say, this is the last fight of my contract and I got to fight this clown, right? So there is some frustration there. And it's almost like Ellerbe and Mayweather are playing good cop, bad cop with him. You know what I mean? Like Ellerbe is like the mom, right? And Floyd's like the dad, like when you're mad at your dad and then you go run to your mom to console you and something. That's how this relationship looks. So even though Tank is frustrated, he's been frustrated before. He vents out to the public and on social media. I do think he'll re-sign, but I also do think at some point, maybe the beginning of next year or the middle of next year, I have a feeling that Ryan Garcia Tank fight will happen. I think that fight will happen. I think that's going to be the big one. I think maybe Tank will fight one more time, Ryan will fight one more time, and I think they'll put that fight together.
Well, there you go.
I have a feeling.
Put respect in Ellerbe's name, Joe. He wears Under Armour while he holds the ankles of Floyd while he does sit-ups, okay?
Ellerbe's a G. You kidding me?
While wearing the Detroit Stunner shades too.
Boy, you wear those nostrils.
He's gonna resign though, because it's a question of do you want to work for your money or do you not want to work for your money? What do you think he's gonna choose? You want to face these guys for this amount of money, or you want to keep fighting guys like Rolly?
So here we go, guys. We've reached the end of the show. Okay. For the first hour, we didn't have Base the Kid, my brethren from England, or Mike Montero, who I discovered tonight is in Atlanta full time. Okay. For those of you who like Champions League like me, you're going to understand the analogy, whether it's CONCACAF Champions League or UEFA. Okay, Maestro right now. First round, I'm down, guys. Okay, it was 3-1. Okay, in terms of Spence and Ugas. Okay, I'm trying to catch a draw right now on aggregate and take this to extra time or the penalty kick.
Real quick, did Ring IQ say Ugas?
Yeah, Ring IQ.
Who picked who?
So Ring IQ's riding the fence.
No, I'm not riding the fence. I'm gonna make a decision, but I'm waiting till tomorrow.
Okay,
the universe,
okay.
The universe to talk to me or to tell me something.
You want to see the weigh-in. So I was a big fan of Public Enemy back in the day. Don't believe the hype, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, don't believe the freedom hype and all of the Cuba talk. And I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Don't believe all the hype about the eye injury and the car accident either. Okay. Errol Spence, he's got the hometown crowd, right? He's going in there, Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading the witness.
Okay.
All right.
Mike, who you picking, Mike? Let's cut to the chase. Who you picking, Mike? Let's go.
Oh, I get to go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I heard some things. I can't talk about it on the record. Errol Spence, 116, 112. I'm just going to say that.
There you go. Base the Kid, he's known for making the expert predictions. William Hill is trying to get
I got to change my pick.
William Hill is to get Base's channel removed, before it explodes, because they're going to be losing a lot of money out there at the bookies in England if people find out about Base the Kid. So, Base the Kid, prediction, please.
Me, like Julius, normally waits until after the weigh-in to see how people look. However, I think that Ugas wins this fight but doesn't get the decision.
Well, it's very in line with my pick, which is that it's a 50-50 fight. 50-50 fight. There's going to be about 3 or 4 swing rounds, and Spence is going to get the benefit of the doubt. Hometown fight.
Good news, though.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it against Porter in a fight that I thought was a clear win for him.
Can I ask all of you three a question?
Go for it.
Let's say it wasn't in Texas, and let's say the judges would be fair.
Yeah.
Who would you pick to win?
Well, it depends on if he acknowledges.
No, I just gave you the like it's all fair. That is a hypothetical. Who would you have win?
I might still lean towards Spence, to be honest.
Okay, so you got Spence. So you can't say if he is robbed, you cannot say that you got it right. Okay, well, what about you, Michael?
I heard there's going to be neutral judges.
If it was fair, who would you pick?
I might go draw. I might go draw.
And what about you, Base?
If it was all fair at this moment in time, I think probably Ugas been a bit more active. Yeah, that's what I think personally. I think in 3 years, Spence has had one fight. Like that doesn't really lend itself to being in ring shape for someone as technical, as Ugas. So that's what I would predict.
Either way, D-Style, I got this as a 50-50 fight that could be a draw, just like Mike is saying. I just think that the benefit of the swing rounds are going to go towards Ugas.
But they don't usually use Texas judges in that stadium.
Nah, but you know what? They're going to be using old people that got the AARP plan, and that are going to be hearing all of that crowd noise, and they're going to be constantly needing to hold my glasses. Okay, hold on.
Checking out those half-naked ring girls in between rounds. Or...
Yeah. They're going to send the PBC girls over for a little bit. You know what I mean?
I think we're going to get good judging. We're going to get good judging on Saturday night. I'm telling you.
We'll see.
If it goes to the cards, man. Look, here's a funny thing, right? And this has been on my mind a lot. You get these guys these hometown fights. Jared Hurd had a hometown fight got his fucking ass kicked.
Hmm.
Julian Williams had a hometown fight. He got his fucking ass kicked. They did a thing for Chris Colbert. You know, they tried to do a thing for him. He got his fucking ass kicked. Boxing is a cruel mistress sometimes, man. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
You can't keep going to that well, yeah. You can't keep going to that well.
I just
Can't keep going to that well, man. You can't keep going to that well.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm gonna start a GoFundMe for the judges. So they can
Hey, La Jolla, 2 losses to Mosley. Lost
Look,
to Trinidad.
at the end of the day, Ugas does a good job at kicking the ass of the Cuban government with his t-shirts and his little headband.
But all I'll say about that though is this, right? If in his heart he feels that way, then it is what it is.
Hold on.
He's a good person, man. He's got a family. He's got a family.
He has to feel that way. That's how he gets a green card. Unlike Dominicans, Haitians, Mexicans, and everyone else, he has
to. It's getting very political, yo. Very political.
It's a fact.
No, but the difference between him and them is that they're allowed to go pro. He wasn't allowed to go pro, so he had to do what he had to do. You're right.
You're not there stamping the cards. You don't know who's going through.
That is true. But it's also true. But it's also true that that's the only country you can just arrive to the United States from and say, "Hey, I'm having political."
You know what?
And they give you residency. It doesn't work like that with other countries. That's a fact.
You know what? You're right. He's got it good, and I think he's going to get it good with the judges on Saturday.
Anyways,
he's going to maximize all that.
I didn't get to finish my point, which is that I haven't seen him like really lay an ass whooping on anybody in a really long time.
Omar Figueroa, that wasn't that long ago.
That was an ass beating right there.
Bro, he beat the fucking shit out of Omar Figueroa.
Give Manny Pacquiao a little bit of a beating.
Omar Figueroa ain't on the level of Errol Spence Jr. Come on now.
You said an ass whooping. You didn't see that by level. Like he leveled.
All I know that Errol got the benefit of the doubt on the Sean Porter fight. He didn't. That was the difference between those 2 decisions.
Okay.
If you look at who PBC has spent money on and built up, and clearly this is the guy that they're it's Errol Spence. He's gonna get the decision, guys. 116, 112, 3 times.
I don't think the judges got any envelopes. I don't think the judges are getting envelopes.
You think Ugas is gonna stop Spence?
I think let me say,
I don't know about that.
Mike, I take you back. Wait, I take you back to September 2019. Sean Porter lands an overhand shot to Errol Spence's forehead and frazzles.
I was there, yeah.
All right, he went through his body and he hurt him.
I want to pick him, IQ.
I want to.
Just pick him. Do it.
Look, his wife's got a big ass and a big butt. His wife's got a big ass. He
a
lot of money.
I will say he's living the American dream.
Wife's got a big ass, and they're always with the wife's friends, like everywhere, apparently.
I'm just pull the trigger, Mike. Just pull the trigger, Mike.
He's living the American.
Pull the trigger, Mike. Come on.
He's living the American dream thanks to that elite world class training he got in Cuba. That's all I'm saying.
And you got my man. You got my man with the platform shoes. You got my man with the platform shoes. Architect.
Right, so I'm gonna rip this shirt off right now too.
He's got his man Salas, the architect. Let's go.
Guys, we got to do this again. This was an all-star panel. I want everyone to check out my channel on Boxing. Make sure you check out Joe HABEEB, Ringside Reporter Live is the channel. Base the Kid, that's my brethren. Make sure you check his channel out. My brother Julius, Ring IQ, you got to check him out. And of course, El Capitan D-Style Boxing. If you haven't done so already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit that join button to become a member. That is it for the Roundtable. We'll see you again soon.
I'm going to send you an Ugás t-shirt, Maestro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's already in the 2-day irritate, baby.